Hey there, everyone. Happy Monday to you today. Why so happy? Did you see all that green as Trump sort of relents a little bit on what he said on Friday? And this was something that was somewhat anticipated, but carrying into the weekend. Why did he pick a Friday of all days to say those things? I'll tell you what, maybe hey, I'll let you guys speculate on that one. But we're going to take a look at the indices. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin and also those best penny stocks to buy now. Because honestly, there's still some pretty darn exciting things going on when we look at an intraday level, especially for RZLV stock and then also ONDS stock. They could have some pretty wild days today, especially after all the downward pressure that they've seen. We're also going to take a look at BBAI stock and NVTS stock. So BigBear.ai, Navitas Semiconductors, Resolve AI PLC, and then OnDas, I don't remember the rest of their name, ONDS stock, is that's what it is. So let me put this up here for you. We're going to kick things off with SPY. So while we're looking at why am I going to S&P for the best penny stocks to buy now? Well, if you were watching on Thursday, Friday, and a whole bunch of times before that, I always talk about the background market bias, and our penny stocks, BigBear.ai and NVTS, were flying high until the market itself tanked, and then they sold off as well, and that wasn't very nice for us. So Thursday, I said very promising. Friday, boom, they both hit, and then about, I think it was 10:57 a.m. on Friday is where the market pulled down. So you see that. What to watch for now is we need to get the market back up above the 13 and the 5. The S&P is probably going to push up to that 13 if I had to guess. And if we go to the Qs, there we go, tracking the NASDAQ 100. This one probably pushing up to the 13 too if I had to guess for it. We want to watch and see us getting back up on top of this green and this yellow moving averages that we have here. Green is 5, yellow is 13 EMAs. Watch for that area of resistance up above. We've seen this sort of structure before where we got up there. And it's like, all right, party time. And then boom, that happened to us. And, that part never feels too nice. That actually happened to us back over here before the whole tariff thing hit us and took us way down this way. Now, mind you, we don't have evidence that we're going to sell off massively, especially because we're still up above the 50 and the 200. So we're still in relatively bullish territory, but with some near-term concerns that we have to get back up on top of the 5 and the 13. So IWM, same situation, get back up on top of the 5 and the 13. That would be great for seeing that return to further bullishness from where we're at right now. We want to watch to make sure that we're not just going to hit our heads and then put in a lower low. That would not be to our advantage for the risk on assets such as penny stocks. Bitcoin, this is exactly what I'm talking about here. This is us hitting our heads so far on the 50 EMA with the bearish crossover between the 5 and the 50. We want to sit back up on top of the 50. That's really going to give us a lot of encouragement. So today is really critical for Bitcoin. Once again, this helps for tracking some of the risk assets that are out there. If Bitcoin is full on bull, then most likely a lot of the other risk assets are also full on bull. So once again, background market bias contributing to it. BigBear.ai, check this out, where we're at. This is important. So I talked on Thursday of last week about the fact that we're pushing up against, we're getting near these two trend lines. We smashed up above them, smashed back down below them. Look where we opened today, right at this trend line. And as I speak on this 15-minute chart that we have here, we are tagging the top of that, retesting as support. This thing could push for us back up the other way if the market is going to continue to pick up. And maybe we take another run at this mid 8 level, this 840 to 860. Actually, it's I can tell you the exact numbers, 835 all the way up to 873. We really want to sit on top of this red area to have a shot at $10 per share for BigBear.ai. So for Navitas Semiconductors, we want to stay on top of $8.62. We really bottomed out in that post market all the way down to this big fat area of support, and that happened to be in the mid 7s. And then in the pre-market this morning, back up almost to $9 per share. If this thing's going to show us $10, we still have to make it through 910, all the way up through 948. 981 is that massive resistance that I talked about on Thursday. We saw it happen on Friday, and so now we're taking that next shot, and we retested support massively so, with hopefully a market that's really going to push on us to keep us going forward to get the bulls that had the weekend to rest, and now we'll see if we end up making that full recovery. So here's RZLV, and the important thing to what to look at here, I don't know what I just said, we want to watch for a structural breakout. And so what I mean by that, and I don't know how many technicals are up here, quite a few of them. So one thing that you really want to see, let me tag that right there, and that's about the trend line that we have. So if we're able to break up above this trend line, that's a structural break to the north. If we can't do that, that's going to be difficult for us. Near term, what do we got to break? For RZLV, we got to get back up over this 559 to 563. Ooh, check that out. I talked about this buy zone down here that happened to be around 470 up to 476 up to 495. Look exactly in that post market on Friday. where we really got that long bottom wick that pushed us all the way down. Where was that low? That low was all the way down at 405. I said this was a massive area for me that I was looking for support. And since that time, we've put up some pretty wild amounts of change in between now and then. So that was perfect. Now to get up on top of 563, if we can sit on top of 563, break this trend line, that'd be a structural break to the north. And then we could watch for hopefully a pretty wild and massive climb up above there. If we can't get to it, maybe we come back and retest support down here, which we know that there's a ton of buyers waiting for us, a lot of buying pressure that happens to be just south of $5 per share for RZLV, and that should make you pretty darn excited, especially given where we found ourselves during this most recent sell-off. I'll take down all those technicals so that you guys can see it. Look at that tag on the 50, absolutely perfect right around $5. Just like with the S&P, well, I should say SPY, which tracks the S&P 500. We want to get back up on top of those moving averages. Sitting on top of the 5 and the 13 is going to be absolutely massive for near-term bullishness, even if we currently still have long-term bullishness. We also want to see that RSI get back up over 50. ONDS already has that sort of structural break that we'd be looking for after this sell. Maybe not massively so. Let me put these up here for you. There we go. And let's also snag that and right across the peaks of these things. There you go. There's your trend line. That looks a lot like what we had for RZLV with this sort of sell. So we want to get back up on top of this trend line, certainly back up above $10 per share. Put this back into 2-digit territory, please. And a break up above this trend line across those peaks on this 1-hour chart for ONDS stock. That's going to be massive for us. 1174 is that number to the north. If we get there, watch for initial rejection. That means that we cleared 1081, of course, which is also resistance in here, which you can see the sort of support that it played before, which can tell you about the strength of its resistance later. So we want to watch for maybe a rejection. If we do get a rejection at 1081, that could actually set us up for left shoulder, head, right shoulder, an inverse head and shoulders, which could help catalyze us all the way back up to something north of that $11 per share, maybe even up to those low to mid $12 per share. Of course, we have to fight this very important pivot of 1174 that we saw almost getting met. At 1170 was the peak that we had back here. So that's the push that we're looking for. So the big news here is that RZLV stock, ONDS stock, they could be ripe for giving us quite a bit more. And same thing for BBAI and NVTS. We're seeing a lot of buying pressure here in this pre-market, and we'll see if the market gives a full recovery. Watch for the indices to push back up above their 5 and 13 moving averages. And then the same thing for these penny stocks. If they're down below the 5s and the 13s, watch for them to also climb north. And as they make that climb, they're probably going to hit their heads first. That usually happens unless we have some rampant and massive volume and momentum going our way, in which case then they're just going to smash right through them. And then we have to watch to the north for when they start to show signs, especially on intraday charts, for where they're going to turn around. Guys, I'm going to put out more technicals over at the Discord. Come on over and join us. Use the link in the description. If that 3-day free trial is still available, take advantage of it. And if it's not available, you still get to check it out for less than $2 a day. And I'll tell you what, it's an entire ecosystem that thousands of members already enjoy, supporting them and supporting you towards your journey, in your journey towards financial freedom and building alpha in your portfolio. Guys, thanks for watching. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and we'll see you next video.